Hey guys, welcome back to another pickups video. Here to talk about one of the latest games I completed, and that game is none other than Ori and the Will of the Wisps, the highly anticipated sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, which is one of my favorite Xbox One games. In fact, it's probably my favorite Xbox One game and one of my favorite Metroidvania games out there. You know, I absolutely loved the first game, and of course, I was eagerly anticipating the sequel. That got released early last year in 2020, but for whatever reason, I wanted to have my the best experience possible, and I sort of did in the sense that I finally played the game, and as some of you guys may know, I did get an Xbox Series S, as you can see in my latest pickups video. Which is fantastic because the Series S ups the performance and resolution of the game. 4K 60 frames per second. That game looked beautifully on my Sony 4K TV. It just looked amazing. It could have been better if I had a Series X. I think that the game runs at 120 frames per second if supported by your monitor or TV. Yeah, I have a Series S, and that was enough for me to blow my mind in terms of graphically and all that. But very excited to finally play this game because, as I mentioned, the first one it's my favorite Xbox One game, and it's my favorite one of my favorite Metroidvania games. So, Will of the Wisps picks up right at the end of Ori and the Blind Forest, which is I'm not going to spoil the story or anything, but it's pretty cool to see that continuity in terms of the setting and the characters that are involved in the first game. But the sequel here, Ori 2, as some people call it, does take place in a new, I guess, a new island or new world, new city, new environment, if you will. So you have the characters from the first game kind of go to this new setting, and it's up to Ori to release this new place from darkness, and also find and save a dear new friend that he found in his in the first game, and that's pretty much the gist of the story. You have to once again bring light in this dark world that has been poisoned and cursed by these dark forces or whatnot. So that's the gist of the story, but obviously I'm not going to spoil anything. There are some very interesting happenings within the storyline, and of course it wouldn't be an Ori game if the storyline is not emotional. So there are a lot of tear-jerking moments here and there in the story of this game, which is to be expected by the wonderful and brilliant people from Moon Studios that once again have done a fantastic job with this game. So that's the story. I personally enjoyed it a lot. The ending has a lot of mixed feelings in people. I kind of like the ending, but we'll see. Hopefully we get a third game, in the series, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm excited. I didn't mind the ending. I think some people didn't like it as much, but it is what it is. Now, graphically, as I mentioned, I did play this on the Series S, at 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, which is more than enough. The Series X, ups the game by playing this on 120 frames per second. So, I don't even know what that will look like or be like, but I'm assuming it'll look beautifully because being at heart a platformer where you need a lot of precisions in the controls and the platforming and the way you move around the stages in the world, I'm assuming the added frames per second, it really does make a difference in just how fluid the game is, and just on the overall graphics. This is a wonderful, it looks like an animated movie, handcrafted with the best graphics possible. So I'm curious to see how this game looks on a Series X or a souped up PC. But in terms of the graphics, no surprises here. This game is beautiful, colorful. A lot of the same, I guess, settings from the first game are back. You get beautiful vistas and sunsets. but also you get a very beautiful, water and green levels, with a lot of vegetation. You get your in this particular game, you have a snow area, for example, where you climb a mountain. You have a dark area, which is kind of like this eerie, cave-looking setting. So all of those places are beautifully done, beautifully animated. I think the biggest difference is that the sequel, Will of the Wisp, features a more of a 3D kind of like different layers in terms of the graphics, as opposed to the first one, which had more of a flat look. But yeah, same thing as the first one. Just a wonderful graphic that are just gorgeous to look at, and just a beautiful game. Jaw dropping, and very worth playing the game just to experience the graphics, in my opinion. But of course, moving on into the soundtrack, this game is fantastic. The Gareth Cocker, I forgot the name of the composer, but he's back with another set of fantastic, soundtrack. Very mellow, some of them very melancholic, very sentimental kind of piano themes here and there. But overall, a fantastic, work in terms of the soundtrack, and the very little voice acting that the game has. The narrator that kind of narrates the story. He only talks in certain parts of the game, and I know that adds a little bit to the story and the progress of the game, in my opinion. But the soundtrack, it's amazing. Nothing to complain about. And in fact, I every now and then, when I'm at work, I have my own Ori playlist comprised of songs from the first and the second game. So very relaxing music if you pick the right tracks, obviously. And then moving on into the gameplay, where that's, in my opinion, another area where the game shines a lot, just because the controls are very tight, just like the first one. There are a lot of differences, or I shouldn't say a lot of differences, but there are differences in terms of gameplay versus the first one. The save system, for instance, is different in this game. There are a lot of checkpoints that are automatically saving your progress, which is cool. Considering this is a very challenging game, there are a lot of challenging, platforming sections that are going to find yourself, you're going to find yourself dying over and over again until you get it right. Also, new power-ups in this game. The way it's set up, you have this, skill wheel that you activate with L, and you can kind of set shortcuts to certain moves. You can map your attacks, which you're going to need, obviously. You have a bow and arrow, for example, that you can use to kill enemies from afar or activate switches and whatnot. And you have this new hammer attack, and you have all your different, power-ups also that you find along the way, such as a double jump. You also have your triple jump, which is pretty handy in reaching hard to reach areas and secret areas in the game. You have your leaf that allows you to float. So a lot of different set of skills in this game that are very useful. Myself, I purposely saved a lot of the orbs to buy the triple jump early in the game, and I'm glad I did, because it just gives you that extra boost to get to certain areas pretty easily. Overall, despite having all these different weapons at your disposal and your different moves and skills that make up for a very precise and solid platforming, this game is absolutely very challenging, very hard. Just like the first one, this game, there's a lot of spikes everywhere. Spikes that are gonna kill you pretty quickly. So the platforming areas are very challenging. A lot of backtracking in this game. I feel like this game feels way more like a Metroidvania versus the first one. There are more areas to explore. The world itself is bigger, and therefore the length of the game is also longer. Not by much, but it is a longer game. And another cool aspect is that you get to interact with certain NPCs, NPC characters. There are side quests that are very fulfilling, actually. The rewards for completing the side quests, I found them to be very rewarding. Some of them have actually very interesting stories, so the game kind of pushes you to perform these side quests, which is pretty fun, because you get like a backstory for each side quest. It's not like your typical dry and cut, JRPG. Sometimes, just kill 5 monsters and you get an item as a reward. There's more to that in Ori, a little bit of a background, sentimental or emotional story attached to the side quest, which is pretty cool. And a very rewarding area of the game that the more side quests you complete, the more improvements you see in this area. You see more people moving in, more NPCs being inhabiting that area of the game. So I thought that was pretty cool and pretty rewarding, to complete the side quests. I completed, I want to say, most of them, but I did not go the completionist route on my first go around for Will of the Wisp. I know I'm going to be back in this game. I know myself. I'm going to very likely repurchase this game on PC, on Steam, just like I did with the first one, just to support. I was also tinkering with the idea of just buying the Switch, physical versions, anything to support Moon Studios. They are extremely talented, and I'm just very grateful for them to make this sequel, which it took a while. It was released 5 years after the original one, but in my opinion, it was worth the wait. Which one is better? I think it's a flip of a coin, to be honest. I think mechanically the sequel is a better game. There's more things to do, slightly improvements in graphics, just a very I think a little bit better designed. But the first game, the Ori and the Blind Forest, just had that emotional, I guess, first impression a moment for me that really just has it for me on a personal level up here, in terms of quality. So for me, it's a flip of a coin. Both are great games. If you guys have not played any of the Ori games, highly recommended that you pick. Obviously, play the first one, Ori and the Blind Forest, and then play the Will of the Wisp, because it takes place right after the events of the Blind Forest of the first game. So other than that, loved this game, highly recommended. If you guys have a PC, Switch, or Xbox a series of systems, make sure you play the Ori games, because they're absolutely fantastic. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later. Take it easy.